On a peaceful Wednesday afternoon, the Tai Po neighborhood of Hong Kong witnessed a dramatic transformation as dense smoke and intense flames suddenly broke out at the Wangfoot Court housing complex. The fire ignited shortly past 2:50 p.m. and quickly grew into a catastrophic event that consumed several tall residential buildings wrapped in bamboo scaffolding for refurbishment work. What began as a minor spark rapidly evolved into a raging inferno that climbed the external structures and penetrated apartments where thousands of people lived. By the time emergency responders reached the scene, the flames had already devoured substantial sections of the scaffolding and started breaking into residences across multiple levels. The impacted structures stood 31 floors high and comprised nearly 2,000 rental apartments. A significant number of occupants were senior citizens or individuals with restricted movement, which made getting out extraordinarily challenging. Terror swept through the community as households attempted to flee through dense, smoke-choked hallways, while some remained stranded on higher levels. Eyewitnesses recounted hearing frantic pleas for assistance coming from windows and terraces as the blaze intensified. Claims surfaced that fire warning systems within the buildings failed to trigger promptly. Multiple occupants stated they learned about the danger only through neighbors yelling or security personnel rushing between floors. These critical delayed moments enabled the fire to grow stronger and created more disorder during the escape. A grief-stricken 71-year-old gentleman stood weeping on the street, adamant that his spouse remained inside one of the blazing towers. Numerous others waited powerlessly outside, uncertain whether their family members had gotten out safely. Officials elevated the emergency to Level 5, Hong Kong's maximum fire response category, as teams fought towering flames and cascades of burning wreckage. Over 100 firefighting vehicles, emergency trucks, and medical units were mobilized. Elevated platforms found it difficult to access the higher floors as the extreme heat compelled firefighters to pull back multiple times. Sections of bamboo scaffolding gave way, scattering flaming fragments onto adjacent streets and creating additional dangers for rescue personnel. As dusk approached, confirmed reports indicated that no fewer than 13 individuals had perished, including one firefighter who ventured into the building in an attempt to save trapped occupants. Numerous others sustained injuries from serious burns, smoke exposure, or physical trauma. Scores were rushed to local medical facilities, while approximately 700 residents were moved to provisional shelters. The adjacent streets became crowded with people holding small packages of possessions, covers, or absolutely nothing. Some wept openly, while others gazed in disbelief at the burning structures that just hours before had been their residences. Movement throughout the neighborhood ground to a halt as principal thoroughfares were blocked off. Emergency response vehicles filled the roadways and masses assembled on overhead walkways, observing as flames devoured living spaces and smoke rose into the twilight atmosphere. Burning pieces dropped from upper floors, starting smaller fires at ground level that crews needed to put out immediately. Law enforcement created expansive security perimeters to keep onlookers away from the unstable structures. Law enforcement sightings implied that the bamboo scaffolding was instrumental in how quickly the fire propagated. The framework, parched and extremely combustible, may have functioned like an extensive conduit that transported flames both vertically and horizontally. The utilization of such scaffolding in concentrated residential renovation operations is now facing severe examination. Concerns are already arising regarding safety protocols, regulatory compliance, inspection standards, and whether occupants received sufficient protection during active construction. Within community facilities, volunteers arranged water, hot food, and coverings for the displaced households. Charitable organizations started setting up telephone support lines and interim aid for those who had lost their dwellings. Numerous residents voiced anxiety and doubt about what lies ahead. Some questioned where they would rest the following evening, whether they could ever retrieve their possessions, or what might become of relatives still unaccounted for. The mental toll was immense as neighbors consoled one another and recounted stories of their escape. Firefighting units maintained their work well into the darkness, putting out remaining hot areas, examining damaged sections, and evaluating structural hazards. Authorities vowed complete investigations and committed to providing support for casualties, encompassing temporary accommodations and healthcare aid. Nevertheless, the emotional wounds inflicted on the community will take considerable time to mend. For countless individuals, the image of their burning residences and the noise of collapsing scaffolding will stay ingrained in their minds long after the flames have been extinguished. Hong Kong now enters a period of introspection. A metropolis recognized for its soaring skyline and tightly concentrated housing developments must address pressing concerns about safety protocols, construction regulations, and crisis preparedness. As smoke gradually dissipates from the Tai Po neighborhood, the actual cost of the catastrophe becomes heartbreakingly apparent. Human lives were taken, households were uprooted, and complete buildings rendered unlivable. The community embarks on an extended path to recovery while expressing hope that such a calamity will never occur again.